Jacob and Esau, Genesis 25:19, 25-34. The narrative of Jacob and Esau, found in Genesis 25:19, 25-34, is a rich and multifaceted account that delves into themes of sibling rivalry, parental favoritism, deceit, and reconciliation. It offers profound insights into the complexities of human relationships and the unfolding of God's providential plan through flawed and imperfect individuals. The story begins with the birth of Jacob and Esau, twin sons born to Isaac and Rebekah after years of barrenness. From their very inception, the twins are depicted as contrasting figures, with Esau emerging from the womb as the firstborn, red and hairy, and Jacob following close behind, grasping onto Esau's heel, a foreshadowing of the rivalry and conflict that will characterize their relationship. As the twins grow, their differences become more pronounced, both in temperament and disposition. Esau is depicted as a skilled hunter, a man of the outdoors, while Jacob is portrayed as more reserved and domestic, dwelling in the tent. Despite their differences, the twins share a close bond, united by the ties of kinship and familial affection. The narrative takes a dramatic turn with the account of Esau selling his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of lentil stew. Esau, returning famished from a hunting expedition, impulsively agrees to trade his birthright, the privileges and responsibilities of the firstborn, for the immediate gratification of a meal. Jacob, seizing upon the opportunity, exploits his brother's vulnerability and secures the birthright through deceit and manipulation. The episode of the stolen blessing further exacerbates the conflict between the brothers and deepens the rift in their relationship. As Isaac, now old and blind, prepares to bestow his blessing upon his firstborn son, Rebekah conspires with Jacob to deceive Isaac and secure the blessing for Jacob instead. Disguised as Esau, Jacob presents himself before his father and receives the blessing intended for the firstborn, a blessing of prosperity, dominion, and familial preeminence. Upon Esau's return, Isaac realizes the deception that has occurred and laments the loss of the blessing intended for him. Esau, consumed by rage and bitterness, vows vengeance against Jacob and plots to kill him after their father's death. Fearing for Jacob's safety, Rebekah advises him to flee to her brother Laban's household in Haran until Esau's anger subsides. Jacob, obedient to his mother's counsel, sets out on the journey to Haran, leaving behind his home and family under the shadow of Esau's wrath. Along the way, he experiences a series of divine encounters, including the famous vision of the ladder reaching up to heaven, in which God reaffirms the covenantal promises made to Abraham and Isaac and assures Jacob of his presence and protection. The narrative concludes with a poignant moment of reconciliation between Jacob and Esau, as Jacob returns to Canaan after many years of exile in Haran. Fearing Esau's reaction, Jacob sends messengers ahead to inform Esau of his return and to seek his favor. To Jacob's astonishment, Esau receives him with open arms, embracing him in a tearful reunion and extending to him the hand of reconciliation. In summary, the story of Jacob and Esau in Genesis 25:19, 25-34 is a rich and multifaceted narrative that explores themes of sibling rivalry, parental favoritism, deceit, and reconciliation. It offers profound insights into the complexities of human relationships and the unfolding of God's providential plan through flawed and imperfect individuals. Through the example of Jacob and Esau, the narrative invites readers to reflect on the complexities of human nature, the consequences of deceit and betrayal, and the transformative power of reconciliation and forgiveness. Jacob gets Isaac's blessing, Genesis 27:1-27-40. The story of Jacob obtaining Isaac's blessing, recounted in Genesis 27:1-27-40, is a tale of deception, familial conflict, and the consequences of parental favoritism. It delves into the intricate dynamics of family relationships and the complex interplay between human agency and divine providence. The narrative begins with Isaac, now advanced in age and nearly blind, summoning his elder son Esau and instructing him to prepare a savory meal so that he may bless him before he dies. Esau, eager to receive his father's blessing and unaware of Rebekah and Jacob's scheme, sets out to hunt for game to prepare his father's favorite dish. Meanwhile, Rebekah, overhearing Isaac's instructions to Esau, devises a plan to secure the blessing for Jacob, her favored son. Aware of Esau's absence and Isaac's imminent blessing, Rebekah conspires with Jacob to deceive Isaac by disguising him as Esau and presenting him before his father to receive the blessing intended for the firstborn. Jacob, initially hesitant to participate in the deception, eventually agrees to Rebekah's plan and dons Esau's garments and the skins of goats to mimic Esau's hairy appearance. With his mother's assistance, Jacob prepares a meal for Isaac and presents himself before his father, falsely claiming to be Esau and seeking his blessing. Isaac, deceived by Jacob's disguise and the savory meal before him, questions the authenticity of the person before him, but ultimately proceeds to bestow the blessing upon Jacob. In his blessing, Isaac invokes God's favor and promises Jacob prosperity, dominion over his brothers, and the inheritance of the covenantal blessings given to Abraham. As Jacob receives the blessing, Esau returns from his hunting expedition and discovers the deception that has occurred. Overwhelmed by grief and rage, Esau pleads with his father to bless him also, but Isaac, realizing the irreversible nature of his blessing upon Jacob, can only offer Esau a secondary blessing of subservience to his brother. The narrative culminates in a moment of reconciliation between Isaac and Esau, as Isaac acknowledges Jacob's rightful possession of the blessing and advises Esau to accept his fate and make peace with his brother. Esau, however, harbors resentment and vows to kill Jacob after their father's death, prompting Rebekah to intervene once again and send Jacob away to her brother Laban's household in Haran for safety. In summary, the story of Jacob obtaining Isaac's blessing in Genesis 27, 1:27-40 is a tale of deception, familial conflict, and the consequences of parental favoritism. It delves into the intricate dynamics of family relationships and the complex interplay between human agency and divine providence. Through the example of Jacob, Esau, Isaac, and Rebekah, the narrative offers profound insights into the complexities of human nature, the consequences of deceit and betrayal, and the transformative power of reconciliation and forgiveness. Jacob's dream at Bethel, Genesis 28:10, 28-22. The story of Jacob's dream at Bethel, as chronicled in Genesis 28:10, 22, is a profoundly symbolic and spiritually significant narrative that offers insights into themes of divine revelation, covenantal promise, and personal transformation. It unfolds against the backdrop of Jacob's journey into exile, following his deception of Isaac to obtain his brother Esau's blessing, and serves as a pivotal moment in Jacob's life and relationship with God. The narrative begins with Jacob departing from his family's home in Beersheba and journeying towards Haran, the homeland of his mother Rebekah's family. As night falls, Jacob finds himself alone in the wilderness, weary and vulnerable, with only a stone for a pillow upon which to rest his head. In this moment of solitude and vulnerability, Jacob experiences a profound encounter with the divine as he falls asleep and dreams of a ladder extending from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending upon it. At the top of the ladder stands the Lord, who addresses Jacob and reaffirms the covenantal promises made to his grandfather Abraham and his father Isaac. In his dream, God assures Jacob of his presence and protection, promising to bless him and his descendants, to give them the land of Canaan as an inheritance, and to make them a great nation through whom all the families of the earth will be blessed. God's covenantal promise to Jacob echoes the promises made to Abraham and Isaac, reaffirming the continuity of the divine plan and Jacob's integral role within it. Upon awakening from his dream, Jacob is filled with awe and reverence, declaring, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." Genesis 28:16. Overwhelmed by the sacredness of the moment, Jacob consecrates the place where he slept, erecting a pillar of stone and anointing it with oil as a memorial to his encounter with God. In response to his profound experience, Jacob makes a solemn vow to the Lord, pledging his allegiance and devotion in exchange for God's protection and provision on his journey. He promises to worship and honor God, to tithe a portion of his possessions, and to return to Bethel to fulfill his vow if God will be with him and keep him on his journey. The narrative concludes with Jacob continuing his journey to Haran, carrying with him the assurance of God's presence and the promise of his covenantal blessing. Inspired by his encounter with God at Bethel, Jacob embarks on a transformative journey of faith and obedience, guided by the knowledge that he is the chosen vessel through whom God's redemptive purposes will be fulfilled. In summary, the story of Jacob's dream at Bethel in Genesis 28:10-22 is a profoundly symbolic and spiritually significant narrative that explores themes of divine revelation, covenantal promise, and personal transformation. It serves as a pivotal moment in Jacob's life and relationship with God, marking the beginning of his journey into exile and his role as the patriarch of the Israelite nation. Through Jacob's encounter with God at Bethel, the narrative invites readers to reflect on the sacredness of divine revelation, the continuity of God's covenantal promises, and the transformative power of encountering the divine